Hey everyone, it's Peter here at the Reboot. Good Lord, it is cold out here today, about -12, -14 degrees. Okay, so you want to build a shop, a pole barn, a post frame building. You want it to look nice, maybe a few windows, nice garage door. You want everything to be square, finish nice and tight. Oh, nice little bonus. How about a little electricity inside the barn? All right, let's go ahead inside the off-grid cabin next door and start to talk about what you need to start to think about if you want to build yourself a shop, a barn, a place to keep your toys, a place to have some fun. Let's go inside and talk about it. Just came inside from what is -14 degrees outside. I don't know if the camera's going to focus on this. I've got the direct vent heater on right now, and if that focuses, it should be showing you that I'm about 10 degrees right now. So another hour or 45 minutes, that should be up to 15. Okay, so you want to build a pole barn, a post frame, some kind of shop. And not a small one, not a small garage, not a shed. Although those are fun, and they take many of the same skills. Moving it up to something like 32 by 48 or bigger is a leap. Before we start talking about things like land, large pieces of equipment, and tools that you're going to need to put together one of these shops, pole barns, post frame buildings, you really do need to sit down and ask yourself if this is really something you want to do. It's not something you're going to build on a weekend or 4 weekends in a row during the summer. If you have some friends who can help you out, it'll facilitate the process. However, make sure you decide that you really want to dive in and do this, commit to the process. It's going to take you some time, especially if you want to make it a DIY project and take on a lot of the work yourself. So you've got to decide that you really want to do this. If you do want to do it, make sure you pile on a ton of patience. This is going to take you some time. If you've got all the basic skills that you need to put together a project like this, I'm not sure I had all the skills prior to beginning the project. I sure had touched into many of them during the last 20 odd years of just having fun, poking around with tools, helping friends, watching contractors do work, etc. Watching videos on YouTube, the great YouTube University. So in addition to that patience, you've got to be ready and willing to learn, okay? You're going to make mistakes. Some of those mistakes are going to cost you. For example, if you go ahead and purchase all your lumber, you're going to need to purchase, for example, a bunch of 8x8 posts. If you make a mistake with those types of posts, cut it incorrectly, etc., that's going to sting the pocketbook. Not a whole bunch, but it's still going to sting. So, do you want to do it? Bring the patience in abundance and be ready to learn, and you're going to make mistakes. If that's your mindset starting out in this whole endeavor, no matter what your time frame is, you're going to have a good shot at making this work. I just wanted to give everybody some of the hardware, the software kind of things that you're going to need to make a project like this work. Let's head outside, look at some of the larger pieces of equipment and items that you're going to need for a project like this. After we do that, we'll head into the shop and actually start to look at the actual tools you're going to need to complete a project like this. Oh, and hey everybody, check this out. We're a few days after Christmas right now, and here is a hoodie. The Woodland Reboot. My daughter had it made up for me. Like I said, we're a few days after Christmas. One of the gifts I received. It's not merch. I'm not doing any kind of merch, at least not yet. If there is interest, maybe I could have some of these made up. You guys could get them yourselves. Anyways, let me know what you think. You're gonna need some land. I've got 10 acres out here in Eastern Ontario, but you're gonna need land. And those who've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I milled. I used a sawmill to prepare all the wood, or much of the wood that I used in the construction of my pole barn back there, my post frame. Hey guys, you don't have to do this. This is not a must for building a barn or a pole barn. You can go buy all your lumber from a local store. But if you want to do this, check out these videos. I'm off grid here on my property, and You're most likely going to be off-grid when you start your project. You know, maybe you're building your pole barn behind your house, so you might not be off-grid. If you are off-grid, you're going to need a power source. I've been fortunate enough to have my hands on this generator. This generator, boy, I'm going to say it's 1993. This thing provides me with more than enough power that I need for my project here, and more importantly for the build process. So again, if you're off-grid, get yourself a generator. A trailer is a good thing to have. This is 6x12 along with the pickup truck. Helps with a lot of hauling and moving materials around from stores to the property here. We're finally inside the pole barn here, and the biggie, I'm leaning against it. It's not a must. It's not a bad idea though to have yourself a pickup truck. This is a fair-sized, it's a GM, it's a Silverado. It's only got a two-person cab, V6 in it. It's got a decent amount of pulling power. This is a 2007. I bought it 3 years ago. Guys, I got this thing for $3,000 off a landscaper who only used it in the warm months of the year. If you're from Canada or the northern US states, that just means that the vehicle hasn't been exposed to all the road salts and other materials that are used in these cold climates to keep the roads clear in the winter months. So it's an old truck, it's in really good shape, and it's provided me with a lot of pulling power, hauling power for the various things that I've needed to do out here on the property in the process of putting together this pole barn. So it's good to have, it's a nice to have, it's not a must to have. Pickup truck. Think about it if you don't have one. I've rented Kubota BX 23S. It's got a front loader, as you can see, and it's got a little backhoe on it. I've rented it because I need to do a little bit more, shall we say, landscaping around the site. While I don't own a modern tractor like the Kubota that I rented for all of its lift capacity and hydraulics, I do own this Ford 9N tractor. Technically it's an antique, but with a couple of attachments, which you've seen me use in previous videos, I was able to use it rather effectively to move materials around and to provide me with a little bit extra muscle for various aspects of the build process. So a tractor of some kind is useful. Okay, I've got a little collection of equipment here that for the most part, this is the stuff that you're going to do the majority of your work with in the construction phase of your project. So this is literally, you know, putting the pad together, concrete, and the basic framing. So you've got the generator outside, you see the various pieces of equipment here. You're going to need yourself an air compressor. This is a decent sized air compressor. Earlier on in the project I started with a smaller one, moved up to this one, and importantly that allows me to work with tools like this air gun for nailing. You're going to take on a project like this, I would strongly recommend that you get yourself a compressor that allows you to use an air gun. The generator also sets you up to be able to use skill saws, chop saws, and other electric equipment that if you don't have battery powered tools, the generator power is a godsend because it again gives you access to, or the ability to use, all your electric tools. Without question, get yourself some good sawhorses or make them. I've got myself a nice chainsaw, a hatchet, an axe, as well as an axe. These are tools that you're going to use quite often during the build process. And the smaller types of hand tools that you're going to be using: tape measure, adjustable wrenches, hammers, saws that I don't have here in the picture. You can definitely undertake a project like this. There are those that showcase such projects on the internet without power tools at all. My hat's off to those individuals, but if you're not going to do that and you want to run these various types of power tools at a project site that's off-grid, you're going to need yourself a generator. Directly to my left, a wheelbarrow. This is going to be very important during the initial phases of your project. An extremely important tool, a level. You're not going to get much done. Well, you can actually get a lot done without a level. Much of what you get done is not going to be plumb or square. So a good level. Now, just as important as these tools are things like this. Ear protection. Glasses for eye protection. You'll also see a series of videos on my channel here concerning the concrete work. So you're going to come across a number of these types of decisions during your build process. Number one, are you going to sub out all of the concrete work, have some pros come in, put that all together for you? Hey, if you can do that and afford it, fantastic. You're going to get a foundation for your project that is just absolutely perfect. For budgetary reasons, I did not have that luxury, so I did the concrete work myself. The first part of the concrete work was preparing the piers for the posts in the buildings, the posts that you can obviously see behind me. Those piers range anywhere from, I don't know, 8 inches in height to 2 to 3 inches in height, and they're anchored directly on the bedrock underneath my building. I mixed the concrete for those piers with a little concrete mixer. You can see it here in the footage that's running right now. I bought this concrete mixer brand new, and that's the type of decision you're going to want to wrestle with. It's not a big one. I actually think it's a no-brainer. For example, the amount of concrete I mixed, the number of piers I had to produce, the concrete mixer paid for itself. I think I paid $230. It was on sale at Canadian Tire. They're a lot more now that we're in the middle of this pandemic. So it really was a no-brainer. I could have rented one. It would have cost me more to rent it and use it the number of times that I did. The scaffolding also ended up being a no-brainer. I could have rented scaffolding. I would have needed it for an awful long time. It made no sense for me to rent, and I would have had to rent it, take it back, rent it again, take it back. So it made no sense. Again, I can't remember how much I paid for my scaffolding. Again, I think at the time that I purchased it, it was around the $200 range. It might have been a bit less. I've got additional work that I'll be doing on the interior here of the barn, the shop as I call it, and the scaffolding is going to be used continuously. Tools that I did not purchase, and I'm not so sure that would have been cost effective just because they become quite pricey, are things like the hammer drill. I needed the hammer drill for drilling into the bedrock as well as drilling into the piers to anchor the saddles for the posts. That was an easy one-day rental each time I had to undertake those tasks. I don't see a great use for a hammer drill in the future, so I rented items like that. I haven't mentioned it yet, but right here, you're going to be doing concrete yourself. You're going to need a shovel like this or a few shovels like this for the mixing process. So as I've mentioned to everyone, I'm off grid here. So if you're going to be undertaking things like concrete mixing on your own, you're going to need a source of water. And if you don't have a source of water, you're going to have to carry in your water each time you plan to make up a batch of concrete. So as you can see from the footage here, I created myself a little rainwater collection system. And here I am, I've just moved over to the other side of the shed to show you the water collection system over here. Again, you can see the rain trough I've added, the downspout. We've had a lot of rain this last weekend. In fact, we had some record rain. And you can see that the barrel's full. And use that collection system for mixing my concrete. If you're going to go that route, you can make your life a little easier by purchasing a small pump. The small pump allowed me to obviously move the water easily with the electrical power that I got off my generator into the mixing process for the concrete. That worked out quite well. I went ahead and I purchased this inexpensive laser level kit because the number of times that I'm going to need and use a laser level justifies for the payment. I think all in here I'm at about 180 to 200 Canadian dollars. You're going to want to own a couple of ladders. That's a tall one, and that's an extension ladder.
Other pieces of large equipment that I rented or services that I hired included the following. First, as you can see here, an excavator service. This gentleman lives just down the road. He has a farm operation. He also has this excavation. He was indispensable. He was key in setting up the pad, and clearing the land, and he was very cost effective given his proximity to my site. Second, this compactor. I do not need to own a compactor. This is a 400-pound compactor and was used again during the different layers of gravel brought in for the pad. Very effective machine and ensures that the compaction is correct prior to the concrete pour. Again, I don't need to own one. Rental was the way to go here. Third, a man lift. And by the way, you can see how useful it is to have a pickup truck to move around an item like that. Again, this was rented. The man lift, indispensable for quote-unquote flying the trusses into position. I'm on the ground, my dad's in the bucket, and as you can see here, absolutely indispensable in terms of getting these trusses in place with minimal manpower.
Okay, I'm back inside the off-grid cabin, nice and warm in here. I am so glad I put the heating system in here. It's a couple hours later since I shot that earlier video, and again, hopefully the camera focuses on that, but it's now about 18 degrees Celsius indoors here. So again, a heck of a lot nicer than being outside in, I believe, what is about a -14 day out there. Okay, a couple tools that I forgot to show when inside the red barn there, inside my shop. Speed square, right angle, useful for many tasks and jobs that you'll be undertaking in terms of the construction process. You want to get one of those, that size or larger. And the absolute must, battery driven drill driver. Mine's a Milwaukee. I'm going to go out on a limb and probably say the best drill driver out there. Great battery system. Comes my little drill driver kit came with a drill as well. So this is a must. You really can't do anything without it, with all the screws that you have to drive home in a project like this. Okay, there are a lot of other tools that you're going to use out there. For example, you have seen a lot of footage concerning the steel cladding that I hung on my building. For example, you need a hole punch for that, and you need some kind of nibbler or steel cutter that you're going to use. Finally, everyone, enjoy it. If you're going to undertake one of these types of projects, enjoy the process. And when you get to the end, the feelings of satisfaction and accomplishment really are quite significant. It really is a great feeling when you finish. You've got yourself a structure, a place where you can put all your equipment, your various toys, and the great space that you've created for the projects that you want to build in future. Okay, everyone, if you are going to undertake one of these projects, good luck. Have fun, and thanks for coming in to see the video. Please subscribe, like, and share, and come back next week. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.